Before you listen to this video, it would be good to read the whole essay so you're aware of what it says. It will help you understand what I'm talking about better. Okay, so we can see, let's look at the parts of the essay. The first one is here we have the title of the essay, Social Media, Beware and Be Aware. Look up those terms. I'm not going to explain them now, but you can find them in the dictionary. Okay, here we have, it's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, okay? This is the introduction paragraph, this first one. Then we have 1, 2, 3 body paragraphs, and finally a conclusion. Okay, so let's look at it in depth here. Okay, so you'll see that even though I'm talking about social media, that what I started talking about was not social media. I talked about technological changes. In fact, I talked about technological changes in the 20th century and things such as cars, televisions, computers, okay, and said that those had effects on our world, both positive and negative effects. Then I moved on to say in the 21st century, our century, okay, then to talk about it and mention that one of the changes is social media. I then here I gave a definition of social media. It's not always necessary to give a definition, but I decided to do it so that the reader understands exactly what I'm talking about. Now, one of the most important points will be this one. Okay? Here, these two sentences, like other technological changes, social media is changing society. Unfortunately, many of these changes are negative. This is what I referred to before as the thesis. Okay? This is the thesis statement, and you can see that my idea about social media is generally it has a negative effect. So now the reader knows, or should expect, that the rest of my essay is going to be supporting why those changes are negative. Okay, so my job as a writer is to convince you, the reader, that I'm correct, or at very least explain what my thinking is. So each of these paragraphs, body paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, will explain, give you reasons to believe that this is true, or they should. Okay? So, the first one of the most important of these effects is confusion between the meaningful relationships we have with friends and family in the real world and the casual relationships we have with hundreds of people online. It's a very long sentence, okay, but that is in fact the topic sentence. It's actually, if you wrote this, I probably would say, break that sentence up. So if I were revising, this is something I would probably look at as the writer and say, oh, it's too long. Okay, so, but that's the topic. So that this idea about confusing relationships with real people with the relationships we have online with people we don't even know. All right, then, so this is now the topic sentence of this paragraph, and then in its given, the support is social scientists say, their social scientists' opinion and what the result can be. So you can see that this paragraph then supports my idea. It gives one negative change. And it supports the thesis statement saying that there are several negative changes. Okay, 2. All right, 2 starts out a little bit differently. No one can deny that social media can help people work. So that doesn't sound negative, right? Okay, and then it even gives an example. But then the topic sentence is actually down here. Unfortunately, this can have a negative effect on productivity. Productivity means how much you work, how effectively and efficiently you work. And then, so this is the topic sentence. And this is unusual. Often the topic sentence is the first sentence in the paragraph. In this case, it isn't. Okay, so there's that topic sentence, and here's the support. Okay, that employees are spending a lot of time online, and it gives even a study about Facebook, how it decreases productivity, and then I also talk about students. Now, an interesting thing is about this, I started out with a topic sentence that only talked about businesses, saying social media can have a problem, can create problems for businesses. But then I realized I wanted to add students. So a topic sentence that only talked about business, I couldn't then put a sentence in here about students. So I changed my topic sentence to be something about productivity in general, because that would allow me to talk about business and talk about students as well. Okay, the third one, social media decreases privacy. Okay, and then the rest of this paragraph explains what's wrong, how it decreases privacy, and why that's a problem. Okay, now this is the conclusion. The conclusion, often people say, oh, in the conclusion you need to summarize your previous points. Please don't do this. This essay is extremely short. I think your reader can easily remember what you said. Okay, so I chose to write a conclusion that sort of takes all that information and uses it in a slightly different way. Social media is not going to disappear, but by realizing some of its dangers, we may be able to limit its most harmful effects. Use social media to your advantage. Be aware of its dangers and be aware of how you are using it. Okay, beware of its dangers and be aware. Okay, so it's not wonderful. If I were revising, I would definitely do something about this. First of all, I use the word dangers twice. Okay, so all of that's not so good. But at any rate, so this would be my first draft. Actually, it's not quite a first draft. When I wrote my first draft, I went back and I made a few changes. Okay. And so this basically gives you a very simple idea of the structure of an essay. And don't worry, I'm not expecting you to be able to do this yet. It just sort of outlines the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about this semester.